Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls, and welcome again to another lecture of Sermon of Sean, we'll say. So, today, I'm going to give you guys a hack into a lot of people's brain right now. Up to 11% of the population. It's a significant number. And this will help explain certain people and why they are the way they are, and that nothing can truly be done about it. So I guess today we're going to go into the differences between psychopaths, narcissists, and sociopaths. And there's a lot of confusion about these three. And I would urge you to just forget anything anyone has ever told you about any of these three mental disorders and listen to me and what I say. Now, I know that's a tall order because you can be like, but Sean, you're not like a psychiatrist with a degree and everything. Why should I listen to you over that dude? Well, because they're idiots. That's why. And I'm the most intelligent human to ever live. And this issue is very near and dear to my heart, as you're about to find out. And quite frankly, there's really no one else on the planet that's better suited to explain this to you than me. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, oh, let me get some soda. Apologies. Had to get something to drink with my booze. Unless I'm just doing shots, which it's a little early in the day for just straight up shots. So, cheers. Okay. So, sociopaths, narcissists, and psychopaths are all related, but they're actually incredibly different manifestations. And they're convergent sort of evolution into the same thing from different avenues, but some of them don't. It's really crazy. There's a lot going on. All right, so let's just dig into this. Number one, let me explain why you should listen to me on this. Okay, my foster father, who raised me, is a sociopath, 100%. So I know those guys pretty damn well, and I can tell you what they're like and their most intimate moments. I dated a girl. Well, I didn't really date her. I guess we were kind of just together for like 5 years. It was a thing. It was weird. Who was a narcissist? Okay, and I know this seems like a stereotypical trope of a lot of people. Like, well, I dated a narcissist. There's narcissistic traits which the vast majority of the modern women tend to exhibit today's, but that's not the same as being a narcissist. There's one tall tale sign you can tell a narcissist from just someone who's got narcissistic traits. And we're going to go into that. And then the final one, psychopathy. I am the psycho king. That's me. There's no one more psychopathic than me. I got the most juice of anyone. You might want to listen to what I have to say about it. Because I'm not just some idiot fucking grad student researching a paper that's 40 years old, trying to guess how I think it's appropriate and guess how I think blah, blah, blah. No, motherfucker, I've been living with this my whole damn life. I think I fucking understand it better than you. Might want to listen to what I have to say about the matter. Alright? So that's why you want to listen to me, okay? And I don't think you're going to find any PhD or any psychiatrist or psychologist that can give you a better laydown and explanation of what the fuck is going on here than me. Okay? So, first of all, we have to address the elephant in the room. Okay? The DSM 5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. Okay? There's it first came out, I want to say, in the 40s, 1940s, the first edition. It's been revised every a couple decades, trying to get on top of all the mental illnesses and more accurately describe them. Okay, and essentially, the DSM is what condemns you to a mental ward. Okay, doctors really don't have the authority. I mean, you can argue they kind of do, but here's what they're going to say. I exhibited, I saw these traits being displayed by this patient in these ways. And because of this, according to the DSM-5, this best fits, according to my, experience, this disease of bipolarism or whatever, all sorts of crazy things that go on to this. So the doctor can't just say, I think he's crazy. They have to reference the exact behaviors that makes them think that they're crazy from the DSM-5 now, and use that as their evidence for their case they're presenting that this person is mentally ill. That's how it works. So the DSM-5 is, by definition, the document that defines whether you're crazy or not. If you have exhibited traits from the DSM-5 for whatever they have, so you look all sleep-wake disorders, elimination disorders, feeding, eating disorders, somatic symptom relating disorders, dissociative disorders, trauma, blah 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 blah. Okay, and this is a long page. I think it's like 970 pages long. Okay, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, showing the disorder. Usually they show all the traits: solitude, gender dysphoria, adolescence. Interesting. They still have this in there. I thought they would have got that out with all the pressure of the wokeism. Interesting. Impulse control disorders. Yeah. Childhood onset, adolescent onset. So they give you the rundown, and they'll go into great detail on like exhibit, case behavior on some of these things. So yeah, they just dig into it deep, right? So, the DSM, even back in the first days, the first issue, they never really did a good job of explaining what a psychopath, sociopath, and a narcissist are. They basically all say that they are hostile towards other people, and they give them the anti-personality, disorder thing, umbrella that they're under. Okay, but in terms of explaining it, they don't really do a good job. They never really did. And there's reasons for that we're going to go into, okay? But right now, the way everything is for psychopaths, sociopaths, and everybody else, they are listed as anti-personal. Yeah, let's see here. Whoops. Anti-support. Anti-society personality disorder. I think that's it right there. Boom. Page 659. Oh, but the pages are all messed up. Yeah, it didn't take me there. So anyways, that's the umbrella that they kind of fit all these disorders under. Like 3 of them. I think there's a 4th one too that's not really talked about a whole lot, if I'm not mistaken. And they just basically say you have anti-personality disorder, and it can manifest itself as narcissism, as sociopathy, or psychopathy. But this is totally wrong. This is like as wrong can be. There is a very distinct difference between the three, okay? So just know the DSM, the official source that declares you to have this or that, is literally garbage when it comes to explaining the triad, the dark triad, anti-personality disorders. And part of the reason why this is, see, here's anti-personality disorders, ASPD, chromatic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this just includes all the three. Okay, so the reason why is explained in like this paper right here, Psychopathy in the DSM, all right? And they go off, and like the first 2 or 3 editions, um, the amount of people that they were going by that actually had they could find like any anti-personality disorder was, I think, 524 persons. Okay, that is how many people they were going by when they made this classification up in the DSM. Okay, and this is back in 1972, so this would not be the DSM 1. No, it would be DSM 1, I guess. I guess it is DSM 1. And then DSM 2, things started changing a little bit. Oh, no, my bad. This is DSM 2. Yeah, this is DSM 2, the 70s. Okay, so it goes like bloop, bloop, and then it goes bloop, bloop. Yeah, it's a weird page setup. Okay. So, they didn't know a whole lot about it. And the only people they could find to interview, and they didn't really do any structured interviews, they just kind of talked to people that were just making assumptions and that really didn't know much. But the only people they could find that had these traits, so they thought, were in jail, in prison. So they thought, where do you go to find psychopaths? Well, psychopaths like to hurt people, and people like to hurt people get arrested, and they go to jail. So you find them in jail. And so it's a very biased opinion that they have of the Dark Triad, and that their only reference to it for many decades is just 524 criminals that were in prison, that they did not, they couldn't find anything else. All right, so that is one of the main reasons why there's so much confusion, because they didn't have a whole lot to go by. And then a lot of the people that were in charge of the DSM-5 and adding or subtracting diseases into it didn't understand the Dark Triad at all. They didn't have anybody that had these traits they knew of, and they just didn't get it, which is funny because the Dark Triad, like I said, accounts for like 11% of the population. They estimate that there could be around 5% of the population is narcissist, 5% would be sociopaths, and 1% would be psychopaths. You combine that together, you get 11%. Okay? So, yeah, this is a really good breakdown of how the DSM has failed Dark Triad. Okay, over going off onto this. All right. So let's start with narcissism, because that's a good place to start. Okay. Now, narcissists basically have this rep that they only care about themselves, but this isn't really true. Okay. They do care about other people's opinions. They just don't care about the people themselves, but they do care how they're seen through other people's eyes. Okay, so you have a narcissist that cares about themselves a lot, and they don't really care about other people, but they do care about their opinions. Okay, and if we come here, maybe we can do like a tally here. Okay, so got narcissist. Okay, now they only care about themselves. Okay, this is probably not good for me to write. Yeah, this is not really going to work out too well. But they only care about themselves, okay? But they do care about the opinions of other people. Other traits they have is usually narcissists aren't too smart. They're dumb, okay? They're dumb. And they like to lie a lot. They have no problem lying, okay? They like to lie all the time. Now, here is the really defining factor of a narcissist versus narcissistic traits, okay? A narcissist, a true narcissist, has no choice but to create this fantasy world that they have to live in, and live in this constant state of delusion to justify to themselves why they're so awesome, but yet they're not millionaires or ruling the world or anything. And they honestly believe they should be the richest, most powerful, influential people ever just because they were born. Like, they honestly believe this. And they're so into this, they're above working. They don't want to work. They don't feel like they should have to work a minimum wage job. So they don't want to participate in society unless they're at the highest levels. So unless you're born in those levels, like a monarch or something, or a millionaire's son, billionaire's son or something, daughter or whatever, the only way you can reconcile this is to have this fantasy land that you've contrived around you. It's always this fantasy, with fairies and elves and gnomes, or the queen or king of the lands and blah blah. It's always these grandiose fantasies that the narcissists are constantly throwing themselves into. They love to role play. They love to role play because for them, the role play feels more real than reality. Because in the role play, they get to live out being their fantasies, like rich and powerful or whatever. But in reality, they're not that. All right? So that's the big tale of a narcissist. They are incapable of surviving or living a normal life because there's too much suffering and hardship for them to endure. They can't do it. They refuse. So narcissists, a lot of women are narcissists, or obviously, can get away with this because a lot of women can find ways to not work in this world. They can do OnlyFans, or they can just take advantage of men, get married, divorce, take all of this stuff, whatever, have kids, get alimony. Women can do this very easily, okay? When men become narcissists, they usually do much more weird shit because they have to support themselves too. So a lot of men that are narcissists will be like sex workers, this sort of a thing, anything that will get them money that they don't have to work hard for. And they usually don't have good lives. Narcissists don't have good lives because they're not willing to put in the work to work for a good life. They just feel it's all owed to them, and they have this reconciliation between that and a reality where that's not the reality they live in. So it's fantasy world. All right. Narcissists are also sexually deviant. Okay, they're sexually deviant. Right? So let's break and go to sociopaths a little bit here. Okay, now. Narcissist is also genetic too, just so you know. There is a genetic component to narcissism, okay? It's not all genetic. I mean, if you're raised properly, even though you have this genetic disadvantage, you might still come out kind of normal, but odds are you're not going to come out normal because any unrest in your childhood years can really trigger this whole thing. Send you spiral now. Okay, so we got sociopaths. Sociopaths are the oddball of the Dark Triad, and it's not genetic. Okay, not genetic. Okay, sociopaths are pretty much entirely a product of their environment. Now, sociopaths do tend to raise sociopaths, but it's not genetic. It's because they're raised in such a shitty way they have shitty parents or sociopaths that they believe this is the normal way to behave, and so they go all in on this behavior, and then they now exhibit all the traits of a sociopath and they become sociopaths. Okay. Men and women can become sociopaths equally. All right. You have a lot of men that are sociopaths and a lot of females that are sociopaths. Same with narcissism. You have a lot of men that are narcissists and a lot of females. Probably a little more females because it's harder for the men to, survive as a narcissist, where the females can easily survive as a narcissist, living in Delulu land in this day and age. All right. Now, a sociopath does not care about anyone but themselves. Okay? So, like the narcissist, they only care about themselves. But the difference is they don't give a damn about anyone's opinion. You can have 100 people in a room telling a sociopath they are garbage and they're shit and you're the worst person ever. And that sociopath will just look at them with a smile, just thinking to themselves, I know you are, but when am I? Just some stupid childish thing like that. And in their mind, they think they beat you. Even though everybody in the room sees they're a piece of shit and is telling them that. But in their mind, they don't care what anyone thinks about them, and so they just revert to some stupid childish thing like, I know you are, but when am I? And in their mind they feel like they won the argument, and now they always have to feel like they've won somehow, so they have to contrive some hollow victory when it comes to a sociopath. Okay, so narcissists don't care about anyone but themselves, but they do care about their opinions, which still involves them a little bit in the people. Sociopaths don't. So sociopaths will be the con men. These are the guys that are mercilessly just going to try and rip off your grandma for every dollar that she has and send her into the gutter to die. And they will not give a shit. Like, they will literally step over your grandmother dying, being ripped apart by wolves as they're stealing all the money out of her, purse, and they just walk off like nothing happened. That is a sociopath. They are the worst of the worst. When you're dealing with someone like that just preys upon people, it is sociopaths. Okay, narcissists don't really prey on people. They do what they need to do to survive, but they don't wake up and say to themselves, how can I screw over everybody I know and love today for anything or nothing at all? Sociopaths do. They literally wake up in the morning and their first thought is, who should I screw over today? Like, that's what gets them out of bed. They're very, very bad people. Okay? And they are also dumb, like narcissists, in that they are very rarely college educated. Okay? Usually they struggle just getting a high school diploma. They can't even get that far. Trump is a good candidate, I believe, for a sociopath. I believe he's a sociopath. A lot of people would consider him a narcissist. I would think Biden was more of a narcissist. Trump is a sociopath, okay? Now, he does have a college degree, but keep in mind, his daddy had to make like a $3 million donation and buy that college an entirely new gymnasium so that Donald J. Trump could get his certificate and degree, because he wasn't going to pass without that. Something you might want to consider. Just saying. Not saying that sociopaths can't get degrees, they're just dumb. And if they do get a degree, it's either a degree that don't mean nothing, that was easy to get, or they cheated somehow. They cheat. They'll cheat whenever, every chance they get, they'll cheat, okay? That's what sociopaths do. They're cheaters, okay? And they also lie like they breathe, like the narcissist. The difference is the narcissist will lie to try and get you to reaffirm their beliefs, okay? The sociopath will just lie to you to screw you over because fuck you. They think they deserve everything in the whole world and that you deserve nothing. All right? Like the narcissist believes that they deserve to be king and I don't even care what you get. The sociopath is like, no, no, I deserve to be king and you deserve to be my fucking slave, cleaning my fucking dishes and my toilets. That's their mentality. They're very evil people. They're not nice, all right? And they are also sexually deviant and that they are freaky motherfuckers, okay? So, narcissists and sociopaths, sexually deviant motherfuckers, okay? They'll do gangbangs, they'll do anything, all right? They don't give a shit. Sex is sex. They'll even have sex with gay sex, whatever. Sex, anything that makes them feel good, they're cool with. They don't care anything. They just don't give a damn. All right? So, those are pretty much the signs, right? Lack of empathy because they don't care. Yep, they don't care or understand other people's feelings. They just don't care. Blah blah blah. All of this stuff. Okay. Now, psychopath is where things get really interesting with the Dark Triad. Okay, because so far we have like really bad pieces of shit. Okay, that represent the Dark Triad. Now you have a psychopath. A psychopath is a completely different fucking animal from anything you've ever seen before. They're in the Dark Triad because they also exhibit the same behavior of anti-personality traits that narcissists and sociopaths have. Where they will be like, the whole tribe will have a vote, like, we all have to do this, it's for the greater good. And the narcissists and the sociopaths will be like, yeah, but fuck you. We're just not going to do it because we don't care. Fuck you. And psychopaths will also do that. They also have that ability in them where they're like, I don't care about this tribe. Fuck you. You never did anything for me. Fuck you. Okay? So all three have anti-personality disorders, okay? Traits where they will defiantly go up against an entire fucking room of 100 motherfuckers, just them and 100 people, and everybody in the room is pointing their fingers saying, you're trash, blah, 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 blah. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths will all be like, but fuck you, you're stupid, I don't care. The difference is narcissists and sociopaths, they're really the dumb ones, and they're just going to pretend like you're dumb to make them feel like they're winning an argument. Psychopaths, though, are actually very, very intelligent. They are the most intelligent human beings possible to live. Okay? Literally. You don't get any more intelligent than a psychopath unless you go fucking crazy. And in fact, a lot of psychopaths, this is kind of their problem, is that they're really, really intelligent, and they're not really crazy, but they're a little bit of crazy. They're so intelligent, they're a little bit of crazy, okay? And it's all from hyperintelligence. That is the cause of psychopathy. It's hyperintelligence, okay? That is the root of everything when it comes to a psychopath, okay? Narcissists and sociopaths, dumb as fuck. Psychopaths, the most intelligent motherfuckers you can dream of. You ain't find anybody more smart than them, more intelligent, okay? And they are also genetic. They have a genetic component, but it also has to be triggered by a bad childhood like a sociopath. So although it almost seems like if a narcissist has a bad enough childhood, they become a psychopath. This is not the case. Narcissists and psychopaths, it is possible that their mental deficiencies are from the same gene that is being contorted, okay? And that is, it's called the warrior gene, all right? MAOA-L, okay? Now, they say that approximately 1/3 of people have this gene, white people, all right? White people have it the most. And the most amount of psychopaths are probably white, I would say. We own it. That's what we are. So up to a third of people could potentially be psychopaths if they have a bad enough childhood to trigger them. Theoretically, that's what this evidence says. I think it's a little more selective than that, but there's a lot of good evidence to believe that this gene, the warrior gene, is one of, if not the biggest, fundamental determining factor on who becomes a psychopath and possibly maybe even a narcissist. You know, there's other genes and other contributors in there and all, but just know this warrior gene is somehow mixed in there. This is partly the genes. When they say psychopaths are born with the genes, this is one of the genes they're referring to. Okay, the warrior gene. All right. Now, psychopaths are also unique in that where narcissists only really care about themselves, but also, you know, the opinions, and sociopaths only care about themselves and don't give a fuck about the opinions of anybody else. Psychopaths, they don't give a fuck about anyone, including themselves. Nobody. Ain't nobody on this fucking planet they give a fuck about. Literally. Nada. Nobody. Zilch. Mama, daddy, whatever. Fuck you. So they care about no one. All right? And this is one of the reasons why they're so defiant when it comes to the anti-personality disorders. You can bend a sociopath to the will of the tribe with enough peer pressure, and a narcissist too. They will cave. A psychopath will never cave. They will become violent before they cave. They will become violent and fight you before they cave. They're not that kind of they're not going to lose the argument like that. Like, fuck you, bro. Like they're not going to do that. All right? And at first this sounds really bad, right? This sounds horrible, like worse than the others, right? Like they don't even care about themselves. That's right. But let me tell you why that's the good part about psychopaths, okay? It's a double-edged sword. Yes, it can cut you. It cuts them as well if they fuck around too much, all right? So they don't care about anyone, including themselves. What this means is that they don't pit themselves on a higher pedestal than you. Like a narcissist or a sociopath is going to instinctively do every single time they get the opportunity. A psychopath is always going to drag your ass down to them, eye to eye, and say, no, motherfucker, we are the same. We're both trash. We're both garbage. We both need to get better. Don't fucking tell me anything else or we're going to fight. Now, some people wouldn't like this, but just know, a psychopath does not think they're better than you. They don't. They have no interest in trying to entertain this game of who's better. They don't care. They think we're all equally trash. Get over it. Okay? And psychopaths are extremely intelligent. Okay? Unlike the other two that are dumb, psychopaths are almost limitless in their abilities. They a high functioning psychopath, one that can control his rage, which not all of them can literally get any degree you name it, PhD in physics, mathematics, minor, whatever, dunsies. Did it for fun on the weekends. What else you got? Anything else challenge? Psychopaths are crazy like that, okay? And usually they're the best at what they do. You want the world's best heart surgeon to do your quadruple bypass because it's a bad one and you don't want to die? You want a psychopath. They're the best. I'm sorry. It is what it is. They're the most intelligent. They don't give a fuck about anything except fucking whatever truth system they believe into, which usually psychopaths, because they're so intelligent and don't care what other people think, usually they're very honest people. They don't lie. They can lie. They're the best at lying, unlike a sociopath or a narcissist who you can kind of spot the lie after a couple of seconds. Like, that does not sound right at all. That sounds stupid, and like you just made that up. A psychopath will not lie to you. I mean, they can if they need to, if you force them to. Yeah, they're the best at it. You ain't gonna fucking, they'll weave the truth in them to lie in such a fucking way that even if you look that bitch on fucking Google or fucking, look it up in AI chat, you're gonna be like, well, that seems kind of what he just said. Yeah, but they fucking twisted it a little bit, messed it up, and you didn't catch it because they're really fucking good at that. They can do it. They don't want to do it. That's not what they're about. It's not like sociopaths where they get off on lying to you, or narcissists. Psychopaths don't want to lie, but they will. They absolutely will if they have to, if they must. They have no problem with it, and they are the best at it. No, hands down. All right. So, psychopaths can lie, but usually no lie. All right? Like, for instance, if a sociopath wants to kill you, and they do, they plot out people's deaths all the fucking time, my man. All the time. They're going to do it in some backstabbing, conniving way, like, oh, can you come with me down the stairs? And then, oh, go on down the stairs. And as you go down the stairs in front of them, they'll like, Gah! And like kick you down the stairs and try and fucking, make you break your neck and shit, Or or like, I heard this one story my neighbor told me. I totally believe it. Said there was a dude that was like a sociopath, right? And I'm pretty sure he was. He was like a fat, balding guy with glasses. They all have that same look for some reason. And he's dumb as fuck. And he saw like this immigrant like in San Francisco, and he wanted to kill this immigrant, for like a bus, waiting for a bus. So he kept hiding behind this park bench, so he wouldn't see him. And he grabbed this broken bottle and just, slowly came up behind him and stabbed him in his fucking throat, and the dude bled out, and the guy ran and hid behind the fucking, thing, make sure you wouldn't fucking see him, because he's scared. And that's sociopaths. That's how they kill. They always backstab. They're never, ever gonna come up and be like, I challenge you to a fight to the death, motherfucker. Now, psychopaths, that's the only way they do it. We don't get no joy out of backstab. It ain't no fucking fun if we don't see the look on your face. We are going to come up to you and say, I challenge you to a duel to the death because of this bullshit. And then it's game on. There's no lie. We're not conniving. We're just very fucking violent if we must be. And sociopaths are also violent, but they do it in a conniving, backstabbing way. So, that's some pretty big differences. And psychopaths are also sexually deviant. They will do all sorts of crazy shit. They don't care. Fucking, you name it. Fucking psychopaths are all about it. They don't give a fuck. All three of these are sexual deviants. Okay? All of them. But, and if you want to know which one's more likely to kill you, it all depends, man. I would say the most non-violent are narcissists. They're so non-violent that you could almost just give them the non-violent attribute, and it pretty much is good. Okay. Sociopaths, they are violent, but like I said, they are going to backstab you violence. They're never ever going to get in a straight up fight with you where you have a fair chance. It's never going to be a fair fight with them because they love themselves too much to risk themselves being injured in any way to kill you, even though they are trying to connive very hard a way to kill you. And then the psychopath is just going to, just like I said, they are very, very reason-oriented beings, where they will not attack you. They will not harm you. And in fact, I'm not saying all psychopaths, but your best bet of walking up to a dude with a briefcase full of money and saying, hold on to this briefcase full of money, I gotta take a piss over there real quick, I'll be right back, and just run off and then come back and have your briefcase still there with no money missing, is probably a psychopath. Because, like I said, they don't think they're better than you. They don't think they deserve your money any more than you do. They're not going to lie to you. Now, I'm not going to say that all psychopaths are equal. Some of them are violent, criminals, because they aren't able to control their anger, and they live very, very horrible, turbulent lives, and they never got a way to get a grip on their mental illness, or even they don't even know they have it. So how can you break yourself out of a prison you don't even know you're in? How? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. All right. um, that's pretty much the main differences, though. All right. And here is a video, probably the best video that I've ever come across, of really digging into psychopathy. And they go into sociopathy a little bit too. They don't really mix much with narcissism.
They cancel each other out.
They tell you, like one of the reasons why psychopaths, anyways, are pretty much dominantly all male is because the trait, if it comes from the father, then if it's a male and it gets passed on from the father, then they have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. All right. Where if it's the mother, they have like the X chromosome from the mother, and there's a chance they have a good X chromosome. But from the father, it's like there's no chance. So, or there's a much less chance, should I say? Maybe 3 out of 4. But and this goes off into like all the different functions, how the genetic warrior gene inhibits how serotonin is processed in the brain, and that's what actually creates the thrill-seeking adventures that psychopaths crave to get that serotonin hit. And it's another one too. Is psychopaths are thrill seekers. All your guys that love to go skydiving and scuba diving and swim with sharks and all sorts of crazy shit. Psychopaths. That's because they're getting that dopamine hit, and they get it from doing really thrill-seeking, dangerous stuff. That's why they're not scared by dangerous activity, because they have to do it if they want to get that dopamine hit. But if you want to know more, I highly recommend watching this video, Inside the Brain of a Psychopath by the Institute of Human Anatomy. Probably the best breakdown I've ever seen on psychopathy, going off into all sorts of crazy behaviors. In the treatments, there's really no treatment. There's no way to treat psychopathy or any anti-personality disorder. If you have it, you pretty much have it, and that's the end of it. You can try and be mentally aware and to limit any situations that would trigger, this. I guess if you have it, awareness is king. But a lot of people, they don't have the awareness, and especially sociopaths and narcissists, they're not capable of even identifying themselves as having any sort of mental illness or flaw in any way. They can't do it. Psychopaths, once again, because they're so intelligent and they're all about the truth, they don't lie, they usually tend to find out they're psychopaths sooner or later. And then usually, the joke is the best way to find a psychopath is just to ask them, are you a psychopath? And the psychopaths will tell you, yes, I am, because they're like, hey, just because I'm a psychopath doesn't mean I'm trying to hurt you, bro. But yeah, I'm a psychopath. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I'm a psychopath. But yeah, don't get scared. I mean, it's not like we're gonna fight to the death or anything unless you try and hurt me. But that's like the biggest trope, and that's like a lot of papers discovered that about 10 years ago. That was the best way to identify psychopaths, was to ask just one simple question: do you consider yourself a psychopath? And then the people that said yes, they would then go into and do a psychological analysis and find out that like maybe 80% of them were actually psychopaths by whatever definition they had. So it is what it is. Like I said, this is good to understand these 3 attributes, because this accounts for like 11% of the population roughly. And if you understand these people, these are by far the most dangerous people are the sociopaths that you'll ever encounter in your life. And if you can identify them right off the bat, then you're going to do yourself a lot of good and avoid a lot of bad things coming your way. And I told you how to identify narcissists, right? They live in their fantasy world and they can't really do much in the real world and have this delusion. And I told you to identify psychopaths. You just ask them, do you consider yourself a psychopath? And they'll tell you. The way to identify a sociopath is really simple. They can't stop fucking scheming. Like they just can't. Like I said, they wake up and their first thought is, who can I scam today? Like that's their first thought they have, and the most dominant thought they have all day long. A good example of this, Trump. I want to make a deal. Let's make a deal. I want to make a deal. And he's doing all these tricks to try and trick you and scam you out in this fucking deal. His version of a deal is basically scamming you out. That's what it is. It's scamming you. So whenever Trump says, I want to make a deal, think sociopath trying to scam you out of some bullshit. And if you look at his book he wrote, The Art of the Deal, you can see the types of tricks he uses. It's all bullshit and lies and it's all just, it's deceit, man. It's fuckery, bro. It's sociopaths. It's the realm that sociopaths live and thrive in. A psychopath isn't going to do that. A psychopath is going to be, much more ruthless about their business endeavors, but they're not going to lie. Like they're the ones who'll be try and buy you out, and if you don't, then they'll try and sink you and go under. With all the warfare tactics of economics and whatnot. Sociopaths aren't that smart. Sociopaths will just try and scam you however they can, make a deal. So there you go. I've taught you the difference between the three Dark Triad personality traits. And I hope you don't get scared about psychopaths. Trust me, they're the best people you'll ever meet in your life as a psychopath. If you ever get, jumped at a bar, or somebody comes up and fights you, dude, if you got a psychopath that's your friend, rest assured he's going to jump in and help you. He's there to help you because he's your friend. Not many other people will do that. All right? Psychopaths, they're not bad, man. They're not the worst. Okay, I'm not saying they're perfect. They can be triggered and they can do bad things, but sociopaths are the worst by far. Narcissists can suck, but usually narcissists don't really try and hurt anybody. They're just after their own validation of their grandiose, delusion. Is really all they're looking for. They're not looking to hurt you or to scam you or anything, but they can. But sociopaths, man, I'm telling you, sociopaths are the devil. Literally, bro. They only think one thought, and that dominates their whole lives. And that thought is, fuck you, I'm the greatest, you need to be my slave. And every waking moment, they're working diligently towards that goal. They're just really bad and stupid about it because they're dumb. Thank God. Like I said, if psychopaths were really that bad with how intelligent they were, they would be fucking up the whole societies, dude. Like you could get just a handful of psychopaths together that can bring an entire fucking nation to its knees, dude. You think I'm playing? All you need is a few boys with chainsaws cutting down all the power lines in the middle of the fucking night in the winter storm. And you're going to have a whole lot of people die, and you can't do a damn thing about it, and you are fucked. But psychopaths, they would do that if the beast pissed them off. That's what I'm saying. Psychopaths, they can be dangerous because if they get triggered, they will declare war. All out fucking war on anything. And they don't give a shit. Like, they don't care. But they have to be pushed to that. They don't just go there naturally. Sociopaths, man, that's just they're there all the time, just looking for a way to hurt people, and it's pathetic, and I hate them. Anyways, I hope this clarifies this point. We'll get into some more interesting stuff next week. Till then, adios.
Like, subscribe, submit.